Start. Okay, welcome everyone to the KubeVirt Community meeting on 27th of January 2021. So today in the agenda, the first topic, we have a topic from Roman on multi-factor authentication for the repos.
So I just want to give a heads up that if you're on the KubeVirt list, you have probably seen my emails regarding two-factor authentication, which appeared sent, I think, 3 times or so. At the end of the week, it will finally be enforced on the organization. There are no people left. I have sent.
Sorry, Roman, I don't know if it's just me, but you seem to be breaking up quite a bit.
Yeah, I have it too. I mean, I can generally get the gist of what you're saying, but it's a little rough.
Okay, wait.
Much better now.
I don't. Okay.
No, it's almost like it's intermittent, like on a cadence, like choppy.
Yeah, I get the internet is unstable. In principle, at the end of
it's
the week,
still here.
Okay.
Sorry, Roman. It is hard to understand.
Can you type it in the chat? Sorry, in the Google Doc.
Let me try to make it
out?
up, but let me give it a try. And Roman, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you wanted to highlight an email that you sent. I think it was earlier today to the KubeVirt app mailing list, announcing that well, for a while Roman has been asking people to enable two-factor authentication to GitHub. This would become a requirement to remain a member of the GitHub org, for the KubeVirt GitHub org. And the announcement here is, and in the email, and to emphasize here, is that the plan is to start enforcing this by the end of the week, meaning that after that, so starting from next week, if your GitHub account does not have two-factor authentication enabled, you will not be a member of the GitHub org, the KubeVirt GitHub org anymore. So this is kind of a final call to enable two-factor authentication in GitHub if you don't have it enabled yet. Was that it, Roman?
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Is there a way to know how many are not or are not with this? I mean, the list of members in GitHub, does it show?
There is a way, but everybody should know.
In
the, no, sorry.
7 people have it not enabled. Everyone who have it enabled.
Sorry, I didn't hear. I could not hear.
Yeah, I'm
really
sorry,
with
Roman,
the chat there.
Yeah, okay. So Roman says that everybody got an individual email as well already. So around 27 do not have it. So yeah, okay. Thanks, Roman. Any other comments or questions about that topic? Okay, thanks. The next topic is from Daniel.
Hey, everyone. Just a quick heads up that we were talking recently about automating the KubeVirt org membership, and the PR on this has initially landed now. I think no one has yet used it exactly, but yeah, at least it's working now, and you can propose your membership if you aren't already with the PR. I linked the original PR, so from there you should just see where the configuration for the membership can be added. I think we already have some documents in the works which will be added soon to add also the instructions in the community documents, I guess. I guess Pep and Chris are already working on that, as I understood.
Yes, we actually have a mention of that later in the on the open floor, but since we brought it up now, it might make sense. I don't have a link to the PR, but I believe the plan was to move from the Google Doc that we've been using for updating or to set the rules for membership application. I think that now exists as a GitHub PR. I know it was being in the process of being converted to Markdown, so I think a PR exists for that, but Chris can speak to that.
Yeah, I created the PR for that late last night. I posted a chat and then the meeting notes.
What happened to the comments, by the way? How did you transfer the comments?
The comments are still in the Google Doc. So there's still a number of comments that have to be resolved.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so if we could reasonably resolve the comment by basically incorporating the suggestion, we went ahead and did that. And I guess the reason to bring this up and stress it is that the conversation is going to become less productive and more fragmented if we're trying to maintain both the Google Doc and GitHub. I would encourage moving to GitHub comments for being able to move forward, because we can, once again, still there, get the same effect where you comment on a line in GitHub instead of commenting over on the Google Doc site.
The Google Docs is almost getting too hard to follow. And then we're losing initiative on getting things resolved. Days are gone by now without comment or resolution to a comment.
It's not like the comments on GitHub is better. So.
Yeah.
But at least
they're in line, and you can tell the way that the UI moves around in Google Docs is like once you get past a couple comments, it becomes really obnoxious.
And also, I'd say that a GitHub PR is much more open to the KubeVirt community, also for externals and for everyone to see than a Google Doc, right? So, and yeah, everyone is confident that he can work with GitHub PRs, and I think let's just stick to that, because we will have to incorporate it into documents anyway. So.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, it's just for reference purposes, I added a link to the original working document on the meeting notes. But yeah, just to emphasize that the conversation should be moving to the PR.
And one last note, we do want this published before Summit, correct?
That would be the goal, yes. I mean, but it's more important that we reach proper agreement than that we meet a specific date. But let's change the question slightly to, let's say, should we give a kind of a late, I mean, let's take a look, let's give some time for people to comment. Maybe it's worth following up on the KubeVirt Dev mailing list. This is an important topic, and give some days for people to comment, and then address the comments. And if there are no further comments, then we give like a lazy consensus time of a few more days before merging. Make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good. I did send a brief email to KubeVirt Dev last night, just saying that the poll has been created.
Yeah, okay.
And one final thought on the matter. Once we publish it or merge it in GitHub, that's not to say that it's final forever. Obviously, a PR can be raised against it, and we can amend it at some point if needed.
Or an issue.
True.
Yeah, of course. And then just, I mean, the merging of this document into the repo implies a few follow-ups. I mean, there are other documents in actually different repos that talk about the contributor process, and those will need to be updated as well as the user guide. So there's more to that than just this PR, but. Okay. Anything else about this topic? Okay, there's another item in the agenda about log verbosity that I'm not sure who added. Vladik, I see you there. Was that you? Or Igor? I mean, who added the topic about log verbosity?
It's Vladik's PR. Are you muted, Vladik? Or I don't know if he's even in here anymore. Maybe he got.
Yeah, I don't see.
I mean,
him.
oh yeah, he is. I can talk about it if no one else is going to. Okay, I'll just talk about it real quick. Wasn't prepared for this, but so there's a PR that Vladik made, which is really neat, that allows us to dynamically increase log verbosity on the KubeVirt components. It's something we can do in the KubeVirt CR, and it happens dynamically. So if you're debugging and you want to see increased verbosity of log messages, check out that PR. It gives an overview of how you can change the KubeVirt CR to enable different verbosity based on what component you're interested in targeting, or potentially what node you're interested in targeting. So if you have a specific node that you want to just increase the verbosity on for the Virt handler, then you can target just that node. If you want to do it overarching across the entire cluster, you can do it using just targeting the specific component, and the API in that PR's description describes how to do that. So anyway, it's a neat feature. I think it's going to help out with development and kind of just tracking down some of these more complex issues. And it actually gives our log verbosity a meaning now, where in the past you could set verbosity high and then essentially you'd never see those messages unless you went in and did some custom things to enable it. So it makes it a little bit more accessible. That's it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, David. Sorry, I was interrupted. Yeah, I just really wanted to encourage people, if wherever it makes sense to add more logging, it will definitely help in debugging.
That's great. Okay, any other comments on the regular agenda items? No? Okay, moving on to the next, to the open floor. The next topic was a status update on the KubeVirt Summit. Two things on that. We received, and by the way, David, I saw you were also adding an item on the agenda about this. I don't know if you want to talk about the proposals. Let me give a quick update on the general status of things. So we're working on preparing all the logistics. There has been a change this week on the logistics side that kind of is delaying this a few days, but we aim to have details by the end of the week that we can share for everyone to attend. And on the proposals or the session side, so one of the things that we need to publish is the schedule and what's the content, and that relates to the sessions. I don't know, David, do you want to talk about this, or should I?
I got slightly distracted, but I will talk briefly that we got, maybe, I hope you didn't just say this, because I'll be saying the exact same thing. We got a tremendous amount of turnout, way more than we expected. And that meant we had to kind of shore up a review team quickly. And we did that across multiple companies. And we looked at the presentations, we all kind of independently rated them, and it ended up that we've had to cut a few, which I'll be responding on the PRs and things like that about what's been accepted, what's been cut, and we'll potentially have a waiting list as well for the ones that are in the rating kind of close to that line. And I want to thank everyone for their submissions. This was, again, way more turnout than we expected. The event isn't that long. And we look forward to kind of next year being able to do this again and having potentially a longer event with where we can accept more people. So sorry if your presentation gets rejected. We didn't anticipate this. We thought we were going to be a little bit more informal and just accept everyone, but the turnout was just more than we anticipated.
Yeah, thanks. And
A good problem to have.
Yeah, a good problem to have, indeed. But yeah, I want to emphasize thank you to everyone who submitted, because beyond the quantity, I would say that the quality of the submissions or the interest of the topics is also significant. So yeah, thanks again for the interest and all the proposals. Okay. Anything else on this topic or any other topic? That was the last one on the agenda. If not, we will move to the bug scrub.
Hello. So if you don't mind spending 20 minutes on the bug scrubbing, please stay around. I will share my screen. Can you see it all right?
Yes.
All right. So the first one, deploying a VM with UEFI files. Was it addressed? It was. Do we have Jet on the call? We do. Jet, do you want to say something regarding this issue?
Hi. Let me catch up here. Yeah, so I mean, it was filed as a bug. It's actually, I mean, I guess it's a user experience bug. So when you enable EFI, by default, it will enable secure boot, which requires SMM. So if you enable EFI, you also need to enable SMM unless you disable secure boot, which is a bit convoluted for users to comprehend. So I was wondering what we could do to improve that. The reason why secure boot is enabled by default is that we want to default to a secure configuration. The reason why SMM is not enabled by default is because it could be a security concern from users. Does that make any sense?
It does. Do we catch this at the validation, or where does this break when it breaks?
Yeah, it is all caught at validation.
Okay, that's good, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of is making people explicitly understand what these features are and turn them on if they need them. But what would be your intuition on how to make this more user friendly?
So what I did already is in the API documentation, it says explicitly that secure boot will be enabled and will require SMM. Yeah, I think the way it is right now is probably the best for security. If we may want to enable SMM by default, for example, when secure boot is enabled silently, and hope that nobody will get upset that something that scary got enabled behind their back.
What about maybe creating a Prometheus alert or a warning?
Not all clusters have Prometheus, but it is a good suggestion.
Are you trying to
Wouldn't
gain
it-
visibility into how often people would run into this?
Well, I mean, create some kind of warning that most of the clusters will support it. Even, I don't know, even maybe Kubernetes warning, maybe both of them.
Is it documented anywhere that this is the behavior?
Yeah, it is documented in the API. We could, I could
mean, user
write-
guide or something like that.
No, yeah, I should probably, yeah, I could add something to documentation for sure.
So I'm not familiar with SSM. What exactly is that feature?
It's also called ring -2. So it's like a super privileged CPU mode where you can do anything you want, including on the firmware.
Yeah, I don't think we'd want to enable that silently. I think
Right.
we're in the best situation we can be in at the moment.
I agree with that.
And the message from webhook is pretty clear, I think. So
Okay, I think that's the best we can accurately do without making somebody else upset.
we consider this the most secure option. It's somebody wants to opt out, they should do. Does it make sense? I hope so. All right, done. Polygon. RBAC role binding KubeVirt.io, and it failed to list KubeVirts and KubeVirt.io. I see that we should be looking into it. Okay, so we can skip it if it's being addressed offline, unless somebody wants to raise anything for this. All right. This one, package hooks uses the same protofile name. So for our hooks, we have defined several protofiles for the product buffers, and they all share the same name, which seems to be an issue. So, and what it causes is this tiny warning. I guess there is no reason not to address this, right? I would even consider it a good first issue since it's just renaming, supposedly. Anybody wants to volunteer to do the renaming by any chance? All right. Let's see if somebody catches on this. A proposal to add VM image CRD. And got no reactions, opened 5 days ago.
Yeah,
As a cost.
that's the data volume. The original proposal for data volume was to call it a VM image. But we wanted to, at the time, CDI was considered to be something that might be more generic and something that might actually have a use case beyond KubeVirt. So we picked a more generic name. I don't know how to, that's what CDI is for.
Okay, maybe we can point them to CDI to see if that's.
I would explicitly call out data volume because that gives them the patterns that they're looking for.
It should do pretty much. without reading what they describe. Okay, thanks, David. Okay, C groups. C groups we do silently break. Cooper. And it is being addressed.
It's kind of surprising that silently breaks. That makes it sound like it kind of works, but doesn't work. What exactly is the failure?
Is it C groups on the node or C groups on the VM?
The node.
Yeah, it's
I
something.
can comment a bit about this issue.
Great.
Yeah, hi, I'm Vasily. I'm actually working on it, and as Roman suggested, I pick this. So basically, the issue is that on the node we have C groups version 2, which are incompatible with the version 1, and KubeVirt produces an error during slice detection, which is actually written in issue description. So this could not detect slice. That's only one problem. There are actually more. But I started working on them, and yeah, it's kind of in progress.
I'm curious. So we can't even start certain virtual. Do we work at all with C group version 2, or is it some features don't work? I would expect nothing.
So
would
in
work.
general, if this is going to play
Okay.
in, it's because we're using systemd inside of our container and running multiple services. Are we
We're
doing
not using
that?
systemd. No, it has to do with our isolation detection, I think.
Yes, correct.
Right.
I actually found three places where the issue may arise. So that they are described in the pull request, which I created. So one is the slice detection. Yeah, that uses C groups to detect basically the slice. The second one is with hot plug disks. It uses a device controller. And the third one is the reading the CPU set file. Yeah, so the written here. So in general, the issues can be fixed. There is another problem with testing this thing because the CI now is configured to use cgroup v1, and in order to enable the support for v2, there should be some kind of a new VM with more recent kernel and container runtime.
Okay, so for my own understanding, can we even start a virtual machine today on a host with C group version 2?
Are you asking if it's possible? Well, yes.
Well, I mean, it's possible. Today, given the latest release at KubeVirt, will it work or will it fail?
It will fail.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe in some use cases it will actually run the VM, but in the, I think if you run an example with container disk, it will certainly fail.
We need to consider how to add this to our functional tests as well.
Yes, that should be somehow included into the CI, and it's now not really clear how to do.
I suppose it wouldn't make sense to move everything to C groups v2 and leave the version 1 behind.
Yeah, but then with one test.
Yes.
In that case, yeah, with one test we run.
Yeah.
Maybe we
As
can
far as I
consider
know,
another lane.
V1 is considered somewhat deprecated in Linux kernel, and as soon as it's adopted by the Linux distros, everyone basically will switch to V2. So it's I don't know how much time it will take, but sooner or later, probably.
Deprecated on the latest, not on the legacy, right?
Sorry, what?
I'm saying that consider deprecated on the latest, not on Rails 7, for example, or something like that.
Oh, Yeah, but as far as I know, some distros are already switching to the cgroup v2. So there are, let's say, distros that enable both. The kernel allows such configuration, but container runtimes, they do not usually support that. So either v1 or v2.
Yeah,
But
there's going to be an overlap. I think even when we look at like how KubeVirt's productized, there's a certain level of support for v1 right now that still needs to exist.
Like the most expensive option would be to run two set of lines, one with v1, one with v2, but that we clearly cannot. It would be a huge waste, probably. But maybe having a nightlight job that would verify that v2 functions would be enough for this.
Maybe we can run another lane just with one test that doesn't test the holes.
Yeah, it's possible the existing lanes could continue to run v1, and then we update future lanes to run v2. So we create a future lane, and then eventually it phases itself out over time. I think that might be my preference. We'd still keep cgroup version 1 unit tests. So I think the things that actually parse, the parsing logic and all that, we can probably kind of solidify that with unit tests to ensure a certain level of compatibility, even in the future if we don't test it.
For example, there is this issue with whitelisting block devices because cgroup v2 uses BPF to filter those, so it's completely different. Therefore, for example, this part is better tested with functional tests, I would assume.
For that specific functionality that you're talking about, I would recommend syncing up with Alexander Wells because he's the one that wrote that recently. And he even mentioned it's known to him that cgroup version 2 would not work with that. And I'm sure he wants to get that addressed as well. That might be a little tricky.
I have one side question. Do you guys think this topic is worth some documentation beyond a line in the release notes or something? I mean, it sounds confusing to me enough, maybe, or just wondering.
Hopefully it all just ends up working. I consider it a bug right now.
Okay.
We could kind of describe what's going on. If I'm not sure. If we end up in a scenario where it's kind of we need people to be aware of the differences between the two, then we would document it. If we can make it seamlessly work between both of them, and essentially it's like nobody has to know, then we wouldn't document it.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, I guess, Vasily, thanks for the contribution. And once it's ready for review, please move it to assigned.
Currently the tests fail because I haven't yet adapted them.
Gotcha. And I'm sure that we then can find a way how to test this on end-to-end. All right, sweet. Let's move on then. How to add a disk in O36. Oh. It seems that there is ongoing discussion offline, so I would vote to skip it. Oh yes, this was a tracker to drop something once we update the virt. admission blocks, integers, and CPU memory resources. We talked about this last week, haven't we?
Yeah, the problem was we used to accept both strings and integers. Now we don't, but now it's getting fixed. And maybe, can you click on the PR? Yeah, let's see what state that is in. I thought that was ready to go. It might be something that I dropped the ball on. Ah, looks ready to go. What was the last comments?
Retest.
Well, no, there was actually real. Okay, I'll take a look at this and I'll get it figured out. Thanks for bringing attention to it.
All right. Remove the docs directory from PR testing. Do we have Daniel here? We do. Daniel, would you like to give us a highlight what's going on here?
Yeah, you can hear me hopefully.
I can.
Right. Okay. The problem is that I digged a little bit into how regex is working in Golang, and the problem is that we don't have really an easy way to use this run if changed. So, in my opinion, at least, there is no easy solution. I just didn't want to close it right ahead, because I think it's a valid point, and I think we should do something about that. But I'm not sure what. I think the only thing we could do would be to move the documents folder somewhere else.
Yeah, I share your feelings about moving the documents outside. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. I mean, I wouldn't have bad feelings about closing this if you don't want to, Daniel, unless somebody has a good and reasonable idea how to tackle this. Is it burning us that hard that we have to fix this?
To be honest, I think there are not that often PRs against the Markdown documents, at least as I see these. I think there has been one or two in the recent weeks, and I don't think this is really pressing.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then I guess we can close it. Let me write a command. This would require a lot of work to get the going while we don't have that many years coming in. Sweet. Thanks for looking into this.
Quick point of order that we've been more than 20 minutes on this, I believe. We can continue, but...
oh, no, I don't want us to burn out from bug scrubbing for sure. And we are, I think that this is kind of a success that we are 14 days ago on the bug scrubbing. So eventually we will get through all of them. Thanks for the timekeeping, but let me stop sharing then.
Okay, actually, about this, I was just wondering. We always start the bug scrum. I find it great, but we always start from the top, and we review issues that have been updated a few hours ago. Would it be worth maybe next week taking a look at the older ones, or start from the beginning?
Yeah, I guess we can, but the issue is the oldest ones are like a year or 2 years old, and it would be more difficult to get.
There will be dragons. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just afraid it would be hard to get a quorum just to address these because it's all new or very old. I don't know. I'm hopeful that after weeks of doing this, we may get to the bottom of the list.
Cool. Makes sense. Well, then, thank you, everyone.